Hey guys, Marvin D'Souza here again. Going back to our Zero Trust series. So in this one, what I want to really touch on is the m- mobile device, challenge that a lot of security teams have today. Is everyone has their own device, right? I mean, everyone has multiple devices, really, in reality, because you have your smartphone, you have a tablet, you have a personal PC, you have all these different things. But the smartphone has really been the biggest challenge because a lot of organizations are like, well, I want you to bring your own device and I want you to have that personal space for your photographs and your personal documents, your banking applications, health applications are all private. And we understand that as security teams as well because we have those applications on our phones as well. But at the same time, we want to enable our teams and our organizational employees to have access to organizational information and resources, but in a secure fashion. Microsoft has a really cool solution for that where we don't really need to manage the actual application, where we kind of compartmentalize our organization's data. So, you know, if you look at it from the perspective of first analyzing what the device is, understanding if is the device managed or not, that's primary. Second is the device jailbroken, is the device healthy, what operating system do I want on the device, even if it's an iOS BYOD device. If it's a really old operating system that doesn't have some of the security features and updates that I want, i'm not going to let them allow I'm not going to allow them to access company resources, even if it's their own device. So you can have all these different things, controls in place. But what if you want to allow them to access your resources, but still put some guardrails or parameters around what they can do or what they cannot do with your device? So this is where we talked about earlier in one of the other videos was identity and devices, right? For verification for real-time access. So in this video, what we're going to look at is I have a user, and there are two, options for this user. One is a mobile device that's completely managed by the organization. The second is I only want to manage my applications. That means like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. The productivity tools that the user will need to do his job or her job efficiently and well and in an easy way, right? Because we want to have the user have a great customer experience. We don't want the user to feel like, oh, I don't want to even use the company resources because every time I try to, it's so hard and so painful, if you will. So, if you let's look at a demo where we can actually create these mobile application management uh, profiles and allow users to use their own BYOD devices so they can actually access company resources in a secure manner. So I have, if you look at, go to apps, app protection policies, lockdown. That's one of the profiles I created. And if we look at the properties here, what you're going to see is, you can name this application, tells you what platform you want it for. And here, I have two apps that I'm managing. I'm saying like, okay, in this example, in this scenario, my employees only need to have access to Excel and Teams. Those are the only two applications. Let's say this is an accounting firm, and they only need access to two applications. And then all the other applications, if I look at this data protection here, these are the controls I can apply around my company resources. So first, not only do they have to log in with a company username and password and MFA if needed, but once they have it on their BYOD device, what kind of controls can I have in place? So can they back up the data to iTunes or not? Blocked, right? So I'm blocking that information because I don't want that information in multiple locations. This is my company resources. Send or get it to other apps. So here you have multiple options, right? You have all apps. So this is basically saying, yes, send my company org data. If you want to take it and put it in notes, you want to share it and put it in your photographs, so you can do whatever you want. None means absolutely. This is the most restrictive. I do not want anything shared. If you open up Excel, a document in Excel on a BYOD device, that information just stays in Excel. I don't want you sharing with anything. Policy managed apps means you can do it with the policy managed apps, and you'll see other apps you can share it with, but everything's encrypted and they won't be able to see anything. The policy managed apps with in share filtering is what we want to look at today is basically like I want to limit what even the user can see if they try to share something. So that's really that next level. Transfer information, telecommunication data. This is like taking out all the telecommunication sharing options as well. So no WhatsApp or any of those kinds of applications will not even show up. And here again, allow users to open data from selected services, so you can block camera, things like that. Copy and paste, limit of characters. So this is if you wanted to allow copy and paste, but then you said, you know what, I want to limit it only a certain amount of characters. And can they print organizational data, and then you can restrict web transfer with other apps. So here's the option where you can basically say any app, only Microsoft, Edge, things like that, or either block or allow. All right. And then you can basically say data notifications. Do I want to share these notifications, or I do not want? And so this is a very restrictive policy that I created. And this is only for testing, right? So, and again, you don't have to apply this to everyone, right? You can actually say, you can choose who this gets assigned to. So another cool feature that I wanted to share with you guys is, so this is just for the organizational data. Now this is around the app itself. So for the app, I can say things like, I want pin access. And now if you have iOS 8.0 and above, you can even allow biometrics. So if you have facial scanning or fingerprint scanning in place, you can say allow. The reason I put the block in place here, because it really doesn't demo well if I use facial recognition, right? So you guys won't be able to see that in the demo. And then you can actually put all kinds of restrictions around the pin or the face ID, and you can actually say like hey, what you want to allow. And so that means if someone's the goal here is, let's say I'm using a family iPad and I have company data on there, and I leave the iPad unattended, or someone else in my family goes to use the iPad and they click on Teams or they click on Excel and they try to open something up, even though they have access to the actual iPad, the app itself needs a PIN to be opened up, kind of like a banking application, right? So it's kind of like the same kind of thought process there. And then you can assign this to particular groups, right? So you don't have to assign this to anyone. So what this really means here, again, is I'm saying a crawl, walk, run implementation. I don't want everyone having to implement all of this on day one for all users. I want to try this out with a subset of users, get some feedback, tweak the policy, and then when I'm ready, roll it out to everybody. This is what we talked about earlier as well, is if it's a jailbroken device, here's where I can say minimum iOS version requirements. So if someone has below this certain iOS version, and we talked about that earlier, it's like, hey, this is really not very secure because you don't have all the latest security updates, things like that. I just don't want you using it. So let's take a look at how this looks at on a phone, all right? So let me pull up my phone real quick and share it. I'm using Air Server here, a really cool tool to share my phone. I'll pull this up here. So the application I'm going to open up now is Teams. I'm going to open up Teams. As you can see here, the first thing it's asking me to do is put in a code. This is what we talked about earlier, right? So I have a code. I put in my code. Now I have access to the actual application. So I can now go in and I can actually look at different things. I can, let's say go to Teams. I can go to different kinds of teams. Let's go to sales and marketing general. Let's look at files. Let's see what files are there. Oh, there are no files in there. Let's go to some place where there's some files. Hopefully there are files in here. Yep, there's some files in here. So here, let me see if I can send or share this, right? So let me send a copy. And when I hit the send copy, as you can see here, I'm not getting many options here. I'm only getting Teams and OneDrive because that's what we had earlier. Remember, I said I can put it to share, Teams, Excel, share drive. And so I'm being blocked. I'm not even getting the usual share options that I would get if, let's say, I had, a typical phone where you hit share and it gives you, messages, it gives you WhatsApp or whatever social media networking you have, and it shows you all the different applications you have in your phone. But here it's blocking it and just saying, only the applications that are allowed. Let's go to some other ones. Let's look at some chat sessions here. And so let's look at the chat here. So this chat here, right? So let me see if I can copy this. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go to notes, and I'm going to create a new note, and I'm going to try and paste it there. And then you see here, it says your organization data cannot be pasted here. So again, these are all the controls you can have in the zero trust environment where you're still allowing your users to be productive, where they can open up applications, they can read documents, they can do different things, but they don't have the ability to really, go ahead and make a mistake that could jeopardize the organization in a way that, you're like, oh man, why did, I give them access in the first place? So here you can see I can open the document, but if I try to share it again, it's going to limit me. It's not going to let me do anything else, right? So this is where these mobile application management tools really come into play. Again, the user doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to change the way they function. And if the user decides to leave the organization, they lose their phone for whatever reason, you can immediately just wipe access off, and that's it. They don't have to, lose their photos or personal data, things like that. So, that's it. And hope you guys found this helpful, and thanks for watching.